Hi everyone, this is Pete. Today I'd like to talk about some tools and tips that will make the barrel replacement on your Ruger precision rifle or similar system as easy as possible. If you're planning a barrel swap, there are a few things I would suggest. The first thing is have a good workspace with a sturdy bench and good lighting. I would also recruit a buddy as a second set of hands. I would also check with your friends to see if they have any specialty tools to keep costs down. You'd probably also want to have a gun vise or what I have is a rifle pad. While I call this a rifle pad, it's actually comically enough, if you've seen me in any of my other videos, this is a yoga pad. Someone asked me if I wanted a yoga pad. I almost said no. It's about quarter-inch thick PVC yoga pad, and I love this thing. I think I've spilled every cleaning chemical on this pad that I own, and nothing ever happens to it. And the pad comes in a 6-foot section. This is something that you might want to work on a pistol or a small piece of equipment, and I have a longer section of mat for long rifles and things like that. I highly recommend the PVC yoga mat. If you borrow your wife or girlfriend's mat, just clean it before you put it back. Another tool you're going to definitely need if you're not going to be going with the reaction rod is a barrel vise. I'm using this Bald Eagle barrel vise. It's made by Grizzly Industries. It's, believe it or not, it's about $39. You could buy it direct from Grizzly. It's a great vise. It is all aluminum. It's milled out. It's got the spring tension on it. You put your barrel in there. It's got a couple of 1-inch nuts on the top. You simply want to have a ratchet or some kind of wrench. It's a 1-inch, and that's how you will be tightening down, or really tightening down the vise. We did a barrel change a week or so ago, and it really did a nice job in holding the barrel down, not marring anything. And we just clamped it down, tightened it up, and we had no problem changing the barrel. One thing I would suggest with this vise, as this Ruger RPR barrel is tapered, one of the things I found was if I slipped a small piece of leather around the barrel as I clamped it in, and that would take up just the difference in the taper, and the barrel didn't spin at all. It's really, for 40 bucks, this is a great vise. You won't be unhappy if you purchase that. Another tool that I recommend you have is a cheater bar. That's the common crude name for this tool that you would use on the end of your small breaker bar to give you a little bit of extra leverage when you're on your Magpul wrench. As I said, that's crude. Instead, mine is a torque enhancement tube. I like to keep it a little upscale with my tools. It may just look like an aluminum tube, but I brought it to the next level. You need an Allen wrench to work on your rifle, get it taken apart, broken down. This is a standard Allen key. Not much to hold on to, not a lot of torque, kind of difficult to use. I would say something better might be a regular Allen wrench set. A lot more torque, bigger handle. You can angle it, a lot easier to use. Still not my top choice. Top choice would be a set of T-wrenches. This happens to be a set of Husky wrenches from Home Depot. I really like this set of wrenches. I bought the stand separately, but it gives you a tremendous amount of torque when you're trying to take some stubborn fasteners apart. It can also be used when you are trying to get your muzzle device set in place. I simply take one of my Allen keys and I stick it right through the muzzle device, and then I can tighten this up, make the adjustments, and do the leveling. So I kind of use it for two separate purposes. Another tool I like to have is a magnetic bowl. You can see there's a magnet on the bottom. Very inexpensive. You can get these things very cheap. But when you're working on rifles, there are so many screws and clips and things that you lose. And I just am paranoid about losing parts, so I have this magnetic bowl and I just throw all my hardware in it, and it's a cheap investment in keeping track of all your parts. Another tool we're going to need is a armorer's wrench. This happens to be a Magpul wrench. It's a great tool. I think it's about 80 bucks. This is the portion right here that we're going to be using on the Ruger Precision Rifle barrel. This will also be used with a breaker bar to get the barrel nut off. We're also going to use the same tool to reinstall the barrel, and we're going to use a torque wrench. So when we use this on the rifle, this is going to go on the barrel nut. We end up using a breaker bar. The breaker bar simply goes into the hole in the wrench. And that's how the wrench will be used. So we'll slip that over our barrel nut, we'll grab this handle, and that's going to give us the torque we need to tighten the barrel nut. And if we need to, we can use our torque extension tube on the end of the extension handle. Another tool we're going to need is a torque wrench. This is just your standard torque wrench. It's a Sears Craftsman wrench. This is a 20-pound to 150-pound. You see it has a 1/2-inch drive. This 1/2-inch drive will match right up to the 1/2-inch drive hole in our Magpul wrench. So you're going to use two different tools in one armorer's wrench. And this is a tool you're going to definitely need to have. But if you already own a torque wrench, this one here is also a Craftsman. It's a 10-pound to 75-pound. It's a foot-pound, not inch-pound. But if you'll notice, this is a 3/8-inch drive. I would say don't go out and buy yourself a 1/2-inch drive torque wrench when you could go out and buy yourself an adapter. This is a 3/8 by 1/2-inch adapter. It's really just about $7 on Amazon. And the adapter will just simply snap right onto your wrench, and it'll take you from 3/8 to 1/2-inch. And this does not change the torque settings or torque ratings. There's nothing to worry about with that. So that's another way to use something you have, or if a buddy happens to have a 3/8 torque wrench, just buy the adapter and you're going to be good to go. Another tool that you're going to need is actually a gauge. It's a Forster go and no-go gauge. You've probably heard a lot about these gauges. It's one of those things where if you're going to do this type of work, you have to have this tool. And these are going to go in, and these are going to set the headspace. So obviously the go gauge, once that goes in, if we can close the bolt, we're in good shape. If the bolt, does not close and we have a problem, we have to spin out the receiver a little bit, and we're going to just continually put these in and out until we come up with the dimension we need to be safe. Couple other tools, all things I already owned, are a couple of adjustable wrenches, and these are just something I'm sure you have in your toolbox, and these are used for your installing your compensator or muzzle device. And you can see that on this particular muzzle device, you can see that the wrench will just simply go right on there, and this is how we'll loosen and make the adjustments on there. So you're going to need a couple of adjustable wrenches, and I would definitely make sure you have a set of these on hand before you get started. Another tool you're going to need is a set of gunsmith levels to check level between the receiver and the handguard nut. They're also used to check the level between the receiver and muzzle brake or compensator, and I will link the set that I have in the description. I like to level the receiver. I like to level the compensator so it's nice and square at the end. If you're putting a new scope on, you could level the scope. You really, as you can see, I really can't have too many levels. I like to level everything. I leave all the levels on at one time so I can keep checking them and referencing back and forth. We're also going to need a set of wrenches, an adjustable wrench, a large adjustable wrench, I actually used 2 wrenches on this this rifle setup. You can also use you know, a set of pump pliers with some tape on the pump pliers, but you're going to need some large wrenches to get off the barrel nut system on the Gen 2 Ruger precision rifle. I was a little surprised when I took it apart. I didn't have a wrench large enough, so what I ended up doing was just taking a pair of pump pliers, putting some tape on the jaws, and I was able to use this and the large adjustable wrench to get the barrel nut off. So with these 2 tools, I was able to get that done. It is nice if you're going to do a bunch of these barrels to have the specialty tools you need before you get started. As far as chemicals go, we're going to need some anti-seize compound. This is a steel-to-steel connection, so I wouldn't be horrified. Grease would do. You can use some grease on there, or a little bit of Never Seize, something like that. And it's just going to be so you can get it back apart again. It's not like a steel to aluminum connection where I'd be worrying about some kind of corrosive action. Another chemical we need is some Loctite. And we don't use this for anything in particular. This is for like the handguard screws and small hardware items that have to get bolted back onto the rifle. And this is Loctite green or purple. So that's all you really need just to hold the screws in. Keep your eyes open for another video going in depth about torque wrenches, their use, adapters, torque extension calculations, and things like anti-seize lubricants and their effect on torque reduction values. Hope to see you again. Any questions or comments, please put them below. Thank you.